Order, order. Welcome to the meeting of the Backbench Business Committee. We'll be considering applications from colleagues for debates in both the Chamber and Westminster Hall. First up, we have Marcia Dakova on Disability History Month. Over to you, Marcia.
Well, thank you and good afternoon, everybody. And can I firstly congratulate you, Mr. Chairman, on your election as the chair of the Backbench Business Committee.
Post is always good.
Well, that it helps. But I appeared before your predecessor on many occasions, so thank you very much. And also welcome to the new members of the committee. As you've alluded to, I have submitted an application which has had cross-party support to have a debate to recognise Disability History Month, which actually started on the 14th of November and runs through to the 20th of September. And really the purpose of Disability History Month, which almost reflects similarities to Black History Month. It really is firstly about recognising and celebrating the many achievements that have been made by disabled people, both from our past but also currently, and hopefully those that we see in our future, as well as recognising the many challenges that still lay ahead of us. There are over 16 million disabled people living in the UK, and I also like to include carers in that as well, which then would take that number to around 20 million. Now, Disability History Month also coincides with the UN International Day of Disabled People, which is on the 3rd of December, and there again, the real purpose of that is around celebrating but also recognising some of the areas that we need to improve in. I want this debate because I believe we do need to champion the rights of disabled people. We need fairer equality, equity, but more importantly, social justice. Over the past 14 years, disabled people have borne the brunt of austerity, whether that's in health inequalities, the labour market, where the disability employment gap still remains at 30% after more than 10 years, as well as the education system. We all know, many of you, including yourself, Chair, of some of the challenges around special education needs and disability. And I think it would be great to give members across the House, so this is not a partisan issue, because we all will have disabled people in our constituencies, to have the opportunity to come celebrate the achievements in their own patches, but also acknowledging some of the challenges, coming up with some of the solutions that we can put forward to the government when they actually get the opportunity to respond.
Lovely, thank you. Julian, anything to add?
I'm very happy and willing to support Marcia in this initiative, and I think, like you, Chairman, I've been in this House for a considerable period of time, and we have seen a change in the makeup of the body of MPs with whom we serve, and there are, with this new election, some quite striking examples of people who have overcome disability to serve in this House, and from previous elections, Marcia herself is a shining example. We all do indeed know somebody who has someone in their family who is disabled, and only earlier today I was listening, not for the first time, to a group dealing with a condition which arises out of infection called PANS or PANDAS, which many GPs have not even heard of, and which could be prevented if it were recognised early enough, but where it isn't, it can lead to long-lasting neurological disability. So we both have the duty to try and support and maximise opportunities for disabled people, but also where there is a further opportunity to anticipate and prevent unnecessary disability. By having a debate of this sort, we have the opportunity to raise awareness of that as well.
David, anything to add?
No, I'm very supportive of this debate, Jim.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick questions from me before I open it to the rest of the panel. You've asked for a debate in the Chamber, and you've been pretty specific on when you would like that debate to take place. Obviously, the only time we get made available to the Chamber is on a Thursday, normally. That may change in the future, but normally it'll be Thursday.
Right.
You've also got a total of 10 supporters, speakers. We'd anticipate for a chamber debate, we'd expect to have 15 people contributing. We could offer you, we will be in a position to offer you a Westminster Hall debate on, I think, certainly on the 11th of December. If we offered you that, would you accept it?
What date is the 11th, without me quickly looking in my diary?
It's a Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you've asked for a debate on either the 9th, 10th or 11th.
Yes, okay. I would accept a debate on Thursday, the 11th, yes.
11th of December?
11th of December.
That's Thursday is the 12th.
Do you mean Wednesday then, Chair?
No, oh, right, okay, so, 12th, Thursday the 12th, yes.
The old system's the best.
Yeah. It's because they give me a listing starting the week commencing. It confuses me. So it would be the Thursday the 12th. Or alternatively, if I just... what would be the answering department?
So in the past, it has been, when we've held this debate, it has been the Women and Equalities Department that would answer this debate.
So we would be able to offer you the 10th in Westminster Hall on the Tuesday morning, which would be a 9:30 till 11 o'clock debate.
Tuesday the 10th, yeah?
Yeah. Which would fit your request.
The 10th is a bit difficult for me. I'm doing a disability event in my constituency that morning.
So it's either the 10th or the 12th.
So we're going to have to go with the 12th. So just to update colleagues, thank you so much for supporting this application for a debate. We're looking at Thursday the 12th of December, which still falls slap bang in the middle of Disability History Month.
Okay. Any other questions for colleagues?
I mean, the only thing I was going to say is obviously, and without putting a spanner in the works of what we've just decided, obviously we're agreeing on a Westminster Hall debate, but this is obviously a really important issue. Do you think, sorry to not be very helpful here, Chair, but I do think it's a really important debate. Do you think that you could potentially be in a situation where you could come back to us quite quickly with 15 names so we could consider a chamber debate? Or do you think it's... I mean,
to be fair, look, so as background to yourself, so the last time I led a debate for Disability History Month, we were lucky enough to have it in the main chamber. And you're absolutely right. That would be the ideal opportunity. I think the key thing for us really is to make sure we mark the debate. And yes, I'm fairly certain we could garner up 5 additional names for it, but I think the key thing is to have the debate and that it is heard, essentially.
Thank you.
The other issue for you is we have the certainty that we have Westminster Hall.
That's right. Day. And we don't want to...
We don't know if we're going to get the chamber for that day.
Right, exactly. And that's the other challenge, right? So I'm very happy, and colleagues should be happy with Westminster Hall. I think the point here is that we get the opportunity to debate this issue, and I hope next year we can get this debate in government time. Frankly,
well, you can lean on the government.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Any other questions, colleagues? No. Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. The clerks will be in touch with you to confirm the details after we've decided at the end of the meeting.
Can I just say, 2 colleagues that have joined us as well, they were also very supportive and have also signatories to the application as well for this debate, Showkat and Jim.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
guys.
Thank you.
So, the second application is from Perrin Moon on domestic production of critical minerals.
Thank you very much, Chair. So thank you very much for allowing me to present to the committee, Chair. I'm Secretary of the APPG for Critical Minerals, which is chaired by my colleague Noah Law. Critical minerals are an absolutely essential part of our transition away from fossil fuels. And there's an awful lot of parliamentary discourse about this at the moment. At the moment, our critical minerals, the UK's requirements for critical minerals come from as far afield as South America, the Congo, Australasia, China, Indonesia. However, here in the UK, we have huge deposits of key critical minerals, not least in my constituency of Camborne, Redruth and Hale, but across the whole of Cornwall and including large parts of the northeast. And the reason that I mentioned those particular areas, because they're areas with very high levels of poverty and deprivation. We know that as we transition our economy, we're going to be relying more and more on such minerals. Now, within these areas, there is, unlike many other parts of the UK, there is wide acceptance and even willingness and local support for these minerals to be mined. As I mentioned previously, they're an absolutely essential part of our energy transition. Without them, we really struggle to move away from a fossil fuel-based economy. There are huge, significant environmental impacts of domestic critical mineral production as well, not least the fact that we're importing from the other side of the world and from areas where there are political implications, geopolitical implications, like Myanmar, for example. The domestic critical mineral production does require a degree of investment and profile, and part of the debate will be to raise the profile of domestic critical mineral production. It's an industry that is ready, willing and able. I've engaged with the industry extensively. They're very, very keen for the UK to the UK government and for Parliament to be discussing the issues that are so essential to the transition. And we would love the opportunity in a Westminster Hall debate to engage with politicians across the political spectrum, across the UK, in having these discussions. And they are discussions that will affect our policies in relation to climate change, in relation to business and industry, social cohesion, I've mentioned previously, but also economic stability. And that's why, respectfully, I would like to request a Westminster Hall debate.
Lovely, thank you very much. Well, thanks for your application. You mentioned that you take either a slot on Tuesday or a Thursday. Can I just confirm that the answering department, as I understand it, would be business and trade? Is that correct?
Business and trade, yes.
Okay, so the potential then is either the 3rd or the 5th of December for a debate. Do you have a preference for either the Tuesday or Thursday? The Tuesday debate, by the way, is 9:30 in the morning till 11. And obviously the Thursday debate will depend on whether we've got our adjusted timings in Westminster Hall for Thursdays.
The preference would be for... did you say 9:30 on the 3rd, Chair?
Yeah.
Yes, 9:30 on the 3rd.
Okay, fine. Lovely, thank you very much. Any questions, colleagues?
No.
No? All right. Thank you very much. The clerks will be in touch.
Thank you, Chair.
Surely. So our next application is from David Mundell on World's Aid Day 2024. David.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and congratulations on your appointment, and to all committee members on their appointment to this important committee. I'm the co-chair of the all-party group on HIV and AIDS, which is one of the largest and longest standing APPGs in Parliament. We're seeking a debate to coincide with World AIDS Day on the 1st of December to continue to highlight the issues around HIV AIDS, not just in the UK but globally. I think it's very important that we keep the issue high up the political agenda, because there is a tendency for people to think this issue has been dealt with, it's in the past, whereas actually in England in 2023 there was an increase, a percentage increase in the number of people who had contracted new HIV diagnosis. There are also a number of significant issues globally in relation to HIV and AIDS, and the rise in particularly the number of young women and girls in sub-Saharan Africa who are contracting the disease, so that there is a change in some of the focus and in some of the issues. There are groups within communities who are very highly tested, who are very aware of all the issues, but there are many communities in the UK and elsewhere who are still not aware that they may have contracted HIV, or are not coming forward for testing. So the principal reasons to have such a debate is to continue to raise awareness, and particularly awareness of current trends and statistics, both in the UK and globally, to promote prevention and testing, and particularly the use and availability of PrEP, to highlight disparities in relation to which parts of society are most likely to be subject to a diagnosis, and reinforce, I think, a commitment from a new government, because we have a new government, obviously, this World AIDS Day, to hear from them in relation to their commitments to taking forward the ongoing fight against HIV and AIDS. And I think coinciding the debate with World AIDS Day maximises, obviously, the attention that the debate gets, but it also shows this Parliament at the heart of an important global issue and taking it seriously.
Okay, thank you, David. I don't know if you're aware, but one of your colleagues, I think, on the APPG, has secured a Westminster Hall debate in the ballot, which has just been announced. I'm not sure what day it's.
27th November.
So it's on the 27th of November.
Right.
Consequence of that is, obviously, we would not be able to allocate a Westminster Hall debate on the same subject. Obviously, potentially, there could be a chamber debate, but it wouldn't be around that date because of other things that are going on. But you'd then need a motion and also 15 speakers in total. At the moment, obviously, you're right, numbers for Westminster Hall, but given that this debate's already been allocated, we are placed in that position.
And can I ask you, is that a 30-minute debate, or is it the
60-minute debate?
It's a 60-minute debate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously it's your application before us, and we have to decide what to do. Our hands will be tied on Westminster Hall, as you'll appreciate, under those circumstances. So you may want to go away and think about that, obviously, and supply extra names and a motion to then make your application live.
Okay.
Otherwise, it'll go on our list, but we won't be able to do anything till you give us the extra names and the motion.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions from colleagues? No? Okay. So the clerks will obviously be in touch, but obviously the ballot was only held, I think, this afternoon.
Are you able to tell us which colleague has secured the debate?
So
yes, Danny has secured the debate. Okay.
He's not one of your speakers, I don't think, is he?
No.
He is a prominent supporter of the
He's not one of your application.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Next up is our season ticket holder, Jim Shannon. Meeting of the Backbench Business Committee would not be complete without an application.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, it's always a pleasure to come to the committee. Just for the record, there's two other names. If you want to just take them, that's their names on the bottom there, please. Okay. That brings it up to the statutory 8 that you're hoping to get. The reason why I've asked for this debate, Mr Chairman, colleagues, is simply because it's been a long time since, indeed I can't recall if it ever was debated, but maybe others might correct me, the autoimmune rheumatic diseases. It's one of those rare diseases, and for some time since I've come back, Mr Chairman, I'd hoped to have a debate on rare diseases, and in particular this one which we had some concerns over. The Rare Autoimmune Rheumatic Disease Alliance, that's where the information came from in relation to. They tell me that what needs to change. Well, I think it's more awareness. 3.5 million people living with the rare conditions in the UK. The prevalence of the condition in relation to this one should not determine the quality of your care, but unfortunately it does. So therefore we're aware of the numbers across the UK that have the specific disease, some 170,000. The average time from diagnosis from symptoms onset was 2.5 years. 30% of those rare diseases patients waited over 5 years for a diagnosis. So I want to focus, if I can, Mr Chairman, the necessity to have this debated and to have a minister to respond. 3 asks we're asking for: ensure that rare diseases remain a priority for health policy and build on the progress made to date through the UK rare diseases framework, because there was a rare diseases framework in 2019. So it's important that we continue that. So support the development and better resourcing of specialised networks, and thirdly, to support the development of a NICE quality standard for rare diseases. It's one that affects, the specific one is 170,000 people, but rare diseases as a whole, 3.5 million. So if it's the opinion of the Backbench Committee and yourself, Mr Chairman, if I could have a 90-minute debate, please.
Okay. You've asked for a debate on a Tuesday morning. The only Tuesday that we know of between now and Christmas that will be available would be Tuesday the 10th of December. Would that be acceptable to you?
I'll absolutely take that, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, Chris.
Can I ask what the political parties of the 2 additional names are?
Reform and Conservative.
My only...
Right, so you're a bit light on government
Labour,
name.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably expect half and half, as you know, Jim.
I'm sure we could get another couple. And the thing is, Mr Chairman, you know the situation, you and I talked about it the other day. I don't know every Labour MP's preference for subject matter. So it's not a matter of just going up and saying to whoever it may be, look, will you add your name on this list? Are you interested in the subject? That's the question.
Well, I'm sure it's not beyond your capability to get an extra couple of government names to support your debate.
I'll have 2 before the day's out. Okay.
Well, in order for us to allocate the debate, we'd have to consider it at our next meeting. Yeah. So by this time next week, we have the extra names, please.
Yeah, I'll get that sorted today. And thank you very much again to everyone.
Any other questions? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's grand. Thank you.
Next up is Esther McVeigh with performance of the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, MHRA. And I declare a brief interest because I raised a question of this health questions this morning.
Very good. Well, thank you for hearing our application this afternoon. I'm here with 2 colleagues who are supporting it, but we do have 16 members who are supporting it, and it is about the performance of MHRA, that is the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency. And this is so important because this is the body that is responsible for the safety and efficacy of medicines and medical devices. It is the only body that decides if a drug is approved in the UK or not. And Graham and I co-chair the APPG on pandemic response and recovery, and we set that up in 2021. And since then, the body that keeps coming up and keeps being raised with us is the MRHA for, as people will see it, failing in its responsibilities. So I'm going to give you just a couple of key issues that have been raised by colleagues and other people, and why we think it's such an important thing to have a debate on. Firstly, it's the yellow card scheme and the reporting scheme, and that really is for people to report if they feel they've had an adverse reaction to a drug. And it's how that scheme is followed, how it's used, how it's meant to be an early warning scheme about a drug. But really, from an independent review back in 2020, it showed that it was too complex. It was too diffuse, and it didn't really allow for early detention. Most people didn't even know about the yellow cards scheme, but if you go to other countries, Scandinavian countries, they have a mandatory reporting system that we don't have here. Following on from that, FOI showed us that the MHRA does not hold a process for the investigation and follow-up of yellow card reports. And the reason the APPG for Pandemic Response and Recovery is important in this is it's really been highlighted what was missing in the yellow card scheme, after what had happened there, and one of the follow-ups that the FOI showed that the MHRA only followed up 54% of deaths reported in the yellow card. And it also questioned when other countries were stopping using the AstraZeneca vaccine because of an autoimmune condition. We were several months behind, and was it really in this failing of this yellow card scheme? Next, another issue that's been raised with us is really about the funding of this regulatory body. Report going back to 2004 talked about the influence of the pharmaceutical industry and found that really it was unusual in being one of the few European agencies funded entirely by fees derived from the industry. And 20 years on, this is still being raised as a question. There had been no follow-on there. And then other issues that caused concern about this agency. The chief executive, Dame June Rains, had talked about how this agency had moved really from a watchdog to an enabler. And really, when it's meant to be maybe a doorkeeper, a gatekeeper, it wasn't. Was there a conflict of interest there? And also talking about transparency, it's worth noting that between 2008 and 2017, only 41% of FOI requests were successful. Again, questioning the transparency of the organisation. Now, one of the chairs of the APPG and a colleague who is supporting this for the hormone pregnancy test, Yasmin Qureshi, is unable to be here today, but I understand she sent a letter of support, and that is a group of people, that is a set of MPs who've really been through a lot and understand the MHRA through the work they've done with Primados. And Theresa May did do and made sure there was an independent review on the MHRA in light of Primados, and they found that there were avoidable harms that had occurred. So again, this just brings in to light really the scrutiny that we need to have and a debate that we need to have on this agency, because it is devastating impacts. It is real impacts on patients, and I just think for people to have faith in the pharmaceutical industry, faith in the medicines and medical devices they are taking, they do need to know that the regulatory body that is overseeing them is doing the best job it can possibly do, and that is why we're coming together to ask for a debate on this.
Okay, thank you. Graham, anything to add?
I think Esther's given a fairly comprehensive view. I just want to make a couple of general points. We live at a time of breakthroughs in medicine, and also, unfortunately, breakthroughs on the other side of the equation of new viruses and germs generally. And in that context, it's important that the public have confidence in the new medicines that are there, and that they can be seen that those medicines have been properly tested and are safe. Because one of the dangers is not just from the bugs that are coming out, it is if there is a failure of confidence in the public in the medicines that are being produced, then they won't be effective, because often you have to use those medicines across the whole of society. So I think that's important. One of the specific issues, and this was dealt with by the Science and Technology Committee probably about 3 parliaments ago, is the use of equivalence for new things that are put into bodies, new medical devices that are put in. And it is always a relatively subjective view whether there is equivalence or not. And it's not only always clear that that has happened. So I think there is public interest in this. I don't think the MHRA has covered itself in glory. It's a worry that within Europe it is one of the few that is mainly funded by the pharmaceutical industry, and we're all aware of scandals that there have been within the pharmaceutical industries over the years. So I think having a debate about it and what the MHRA has been up to would get public interest, get interest from members, and hopefully would get a decent response from the government.
Okay. Rupert, anything to add?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'm very happy to support Esther in the request for this debate. I think there arguably hasn't been enough scrutiny of the MHRA in Parliament. I think given the funding of the MHRA, it does lead to questions about conflicts of interest, which I think it's in the public interest to actually discuss and debate. I've asked a question recently which has thrown up the fact that there have been 500,000 yellow card incidents, which are, that's what's come back to my office. As far as I'm aware, there's no process for a proper follow-up on these incidents. And I think it's a case of good government is transparent government, and I think this entire agency and the entire issue of what happened during those 2 mad years needs parliamentary scrutiny, and I think arguably it's overdue. So I think Esther's covered most of it pretty comprehensively, but that's why I think we do need this debate.
Okay, thank you. Now, you've got a dual application here, either for a Chamber or Westminster Hall, which has covered all the bases, but you've got enough speakers on, as far as that is concerned. I presume your preference would be for a Chamber debate if it was available.
Yes, if it was available, yes.
And although we don't know that we've got the Chamber for the 12th of December, that would be the earliest date we would be able to allocate. It also would coincide, I think, probably for Westminster Hall along those lines as well. If we offered you that date, would you be able to accept it? It would be the first slot because you've got a motion.
Mm-hmm. I could. I don't know if anybody wants
which
to check.
So
this is Thursday, the 12th of December.
Correct.
I would only raise, and I don't want to be the one to do it really, but there is only 3 on the government side in that list.
Yeah, the other thing obviously is we normally try and expect half and half between government and opposition speakers. As Chris says, there's only 3 government side at the moment. I think this is not. I don't think this will be controversial for the government because the Health Secretary certainly was supportive of a review of MHRA this morning when I asked him about it. So I'm sure you'll be able to get some extra government speakers, and there's time to do it.
I can do the 12th.
I can make myself available. Yep.
Okay. So then that would be grand.
Well, that's not confirmed yet. That's
okay. Well, I'm putting it in. I'm writing it in pencil then.
I would want it to be on the basis of you having got more government speakers. Yeah.
Any other questions from colleagues? No? Okay, well, thank you. The clerks will be in touch with you about the date and time of any debate. Thank you. The final application we've got is from one of our committee members, Chris Vince, new member, already coming forward with an application. Just to make it clear for the public, Chris will be presenting it, taking no part in the decision making on the application subsequently.
Thank you.
My name's twice.
You're there. Okay, so you've got an application for the impact of pelvic mesh scandal on those affected by the findings of the Cumberledge Review.
Thank you, Chair, and it's strange being on this side of the meeting. One of the first, in fact, the first resident that came to see me in one of my MP surgeries was a victim of the pelvic mesh scandal. She was given a TVT mesh, which stands for tension-free vaginal tape device, through a procedure. It's a plastic device which, when left, goes brittle and breaks down. This had the effect that it then sliced into her organs and internal points within her body. And it was a really horrendous thing to hear about. I confess it's not something that I was particularly aware of before I became an MP. She had an appointment, had an operation, which she believed to have fully removed this mesh. But in fact, it was later found out that not all of the mesh was actually removed, and that some of the plastic has further eroded away and has caused additional issues with the abdomen. There's part of the mesh which goes into her groin. It's just a terrible situation that she's in. I believe there is now a temporary ban on the mesh, but there are still exceptions where it can be used. I'll touch briefly on the Cumberledge Review, which investigated the scandal in more detail, and it offered the following recommendations, which I would like to be discussed within the debate. So obviously an apology from the government, setting up mesh centres, although there's a long waiting list and doctors at these centres can often be the same people that put them in, so I think an independent centres would be good. And obviously discussion obviously about the potential of a financial redress. I just really want to emphasise the impact that this had on the resident that I spoke to who was a victim of this. She's now unable to work, she can't exercise, and she's in constant pain. This is somebody who worked full time up to this point, was considered herself very active, did a lot of running, and now that just isn't possible. And interestingly, going back to a previous speaker, it has developed an autoimmune condition. Subsequent to this resident speaking to me, I actually have had two other residents speak to me about the same issue, and that's just within my constituency. So I get the feeling that this is something that's affected a great many people. It is mainly women, although this particular plastic has been used in other procedures as well. Just to finish, really, obviously, I've given you a list of names there. Obviously a fairly new MP, so getting to know members of other political parties has been difficult, but I've got a fairly even spread there, and I've got representatives from the government and also the opposition, albeit 3 different political parties and only one from the official opposition. I have got other speakers that would be interested in speaking, but they're all, again, government side. But I do believe, actually, that this is something that actually, going up wider, I think actually there would be more opposition members that would want to speak on this.
Yeah, this has been debated in previous parliaments.
And I have reached out to the person that brought the debate previously, but I haven't had a response yet.
That Yasmin Qureshi.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, she led on this particular in previous parliaments, so that's fine. In terms of allocation of time, the earliest we could give you time in Westminster Hall, which is your request, would be Thursday the 5th of December. Would that be acceptable?
That's my time. No, yes, I would make that work. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions on this? No. Thank you very much, Chris. And obviously the clerks will be in touch with you at the appropriate time. That concludes the formal business of the afternoon. The committee will now go into private session to consider the request for debates and allocation of time. Order, order.